What's up? You're watching Poots Garage. This week we're finally going to get into regearing that Cherokee. Well, we tore it all apart and we showed you all that stuff, but it's time to finally start putting it together. I've been procrastinating so much on doing this. I don't know why. Just gears aren't exciting, I guess, to work on, or I'm just not in the mood, but whatever. We're forcing ourselves to do it. Not going to do a whole lot of video on this, I don't think, because I just want to get it done. So we're just going to get into it. And just to recap, this is what we're working on. My 95 Jeep Cherokee. We've got a Chrysler 8 1/4 rear end, which we're going to start back here because I think it'll be a little easier to set up than the front. We're installing a set of used 456 gears and a Detroit locker, which is going to replace my old 355 gears and a welded diff. So it's a little bit of an upgrade. And the front end is just a Dana 30, again 355 gears, and that had a lunchbox locker, which we're going to be installing a used ARB in here. So yeah, I just want to get this done. I already spent a lot of time cleaning all the old stuff, all these used gears, these 456s. Got my pinions and my carriers and everything ready to go. This old ARB, and then the new old Detroit, and then, you know, clean everything from the gears and the adjusters and the caps, and everything's ready to go. I do need to clean out in the Jeep. I got to clean those housings out real good. They've been open for a few weeks, and we've had some rain and sandstorms coming through, so we got to clean all that out real good. But we're reusing everything old bearings, old gears, old lockers. I did buy a new crush sleeve, this guy here, so I do have a new crush sleeve for the rear, so hopefully the setup goes quick and I don't waste anything. But I'm not going to be super critical on the way this thing is set up. I will check the pattern, but I'm not going to perfect it. I mean, if it's easy enough to do, then yeah, but I'm not going to be super, I don't know, picky on it because it's all old junk. This is a beater Cherokee. I don't know how long I'm going to keep using these axles until I want to upgrade to something bigger. So we're just getting this thing going and getting some good gears in it at least. It's the next day. I worked on this thing a lot last night and then back at it today. So I pretty much got everything in yesterday. I got the pinion in, got the carrier set in place, and then today I just wanted to start setting it up because it's kind of a process to get these things set up, and we're not looking very good right now. For starters, it's extremely windy today. We've had some straight windstorm earlier. It's died down a little bit, but man, it's blowing a lot of dust and dirt and sand into my diff here, which I'm not too happy about. But we got everything in, and I went through, and these have adjusters on each side to set your backlash and your bearing preload. I got all that set per spec, and my gear pattern is way off. As you can see, we are way out on the, I don't know what they call that, crown, plus we're out on the heel. But then if you look underneath on the actual drive side, the important side, it's barely making contact on what they call the toe side, which is way in the inside there, and it's just on the corner. So that is not good at all. So I went through and I actually loosened up the backlash a lot just to see if it made a big difference. Not that much of a difference, so we're gonna have to mess with that pinion, which sucks because now I just spent hours setting this thing up, and now you gotta tear it all back apart and redo it again later. But basically what we have to do is pull the pinion back out, take this out, pull the pinion out, and then we actually have to get the press and remove the inner bearing. And at this point, I think we need to add shims. Now, one other thing I want to do though before that, well, I mean, shims are going to have to get moved regardless, is what I'm going to do, which might be the main issue, is on my old gears. These are the old 355 gears here. Alright, yeah, that's my welded diff. So this is the old one here. Probably should have done this from the beginning, but I guess I didn't. Is the shims are behind this bearing, so that's what sets the bearing depth this way. So I probably should have used these shims to begin with because they kind of match with that differential, like the housing itself. So that alone might be the issue. So I'm gonna have to pull these ones off and measure how thick those shims are and compared to the others. And if they are thicker, then we'll probably just start with these, do it again, and see how close it is. So it's just kind of a pain in the butt. I don't have a press here, and I really don't want to have to take these things I mean, I can take them to somebody else's house to do it, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I can borrow a press, get one over here. I don't know. Maybe I'll go buy one from Harbor Freight because I need one anyways. So, just not looking forward. So I guess before the sun goes down today, I'm gonna pull that diff all back apart. It's the next weekend. I think it's like 2 weekends now, maybe 3. I don't know. I've had a hard time here. completely unmotivated. And then I got injured last weekend pushing that truck in the off-road video, pushing it up a hill. Did something to my rib. I think I dislocated it, so it kind of tore some stuff up in there. So I've been down for a couple weeks for that. Finally feeling good. We're trying to get back into this stuff. Let me show you where we're at. Everything's really messy right now, but I used this bearing puller tool. This allows you to pull bearings off of like pinions and carriers without damaging the bearing. So we did that. The pinion I'm using, this is the old one. The one I'm using is actually in the freezer right now because I don't know a shop press, and I really should buy one, but I just haven't. And so what we're going to end up doing is the pinion is in the freezer, and this bearing is going to go in the oven. We're going to bake this thing for a while. Clean it up first. Get it nice and hot. The pinion's been in there overnight, so it's nice and cold. And then pull that thing out of the oven, and it should drop right into place. And then once everything goes back to temperature, it's tight. So, never done it before, but we're going to give it a shot. I need to back up a little bit here. I don't remember if I explained everything. Did I explain I'm pretty sure I explained the gear pattern is absolutely foobarred on this thing. So, we pulled it all apart to see what it had for shims. And what we found was, let's see if I can find out where I set them right here. So the pinion, the aftermarket pinion, the 456 that I pulled out had 60 thousandths shims. That's a lot. Now that alone is not a big deal, but you compare it to what was in there before. My original shim pack was 30 thou. So actually I think that was more like 90 thou. It's a lot. It's super thick, which is why our pattern is super deep into the ring gear. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the original 30 and we're going to put that on the new gear, and basically we're going to get a baseline how it should have been. Whoever set this thing up before me had no idea what they were doing. I mean, it was just, that's pretty bad. I'm not going to lie, that's pretty bad. So I don't know why they had so many shims in there. What they were trying to figure out or do, I don't know, but hopefully we can make it better. I think we're just about ready here. Pull the old ring gear out of the freezer. Get that out. Ready to go. It is cold. I already got my little 30 thou shim on there. Hopefully this is the only time I have to do this. The bearing has been in here for, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes. We are ready to go. It's hot, I hope. Let's see what happens. There it goes, all the way. Nice. It went all the way down, so it does work. Cool. I'll let that figure itself out over some time here, and one is super cold, one's super hot, so we'll let it rest. Update time. Not the update I planned on doing. Got cats everywhere. So I went to a garage sale today because they had an item I needed, which is right here on the floor. Got this for $100. We picked up an entire Airlift 5000 kit. This is their very basic kit. Normally runs what, $400 to $500 online new, and I got it for $100. So you can absolutely not beat that. I just kind of assembled everything loosely here to kind of check it out. But there it is, Airlift 5000. I was planning on buying one of these already for the Ram for when I start towing a camper and stuff. Not towing, but hauling a camper and towing. It's gonna need a little extra help in the back end to keep it level. So I'd already planned on buying this kit, and I just happened to run across somebody that had a picture in their online garage sale, and I asked how much. They said $100, and I was like, on my way. That'll save me a lot of money, so this is really cool. I'm pretty happy to have found that. Now, while I was down there, I asked them, do you have any other garage or shop items for sale? And we picked up a couple large items over here. Oh boy, look at that press. That is a hydraulic press, if I ever seen one. So this is a really nice Bailey air over hydraulic. I believe this is a 30-ton model. They have a smaller one that's a 20-ton. This is the kind of the mid 30, I think up to 50 and 75 ton. But this is this is incredible. This is the nicest press I've ever had. Probably the nicest tool I own now. So before I go too deep into that, we also picked up a drill press. That one back there. Now I have a little drill press on the bench top, but it's really light duty and super light. You go over like 1/4 inch on the drill bit and it starts slipping and spinning belts and stuff. So we grabbed this one too. This is also a Bailey unit, so it's a really nice quality unit. These things are extremely expensive online, and so For the price I picked them up for, I absolutely could not pass them up. Yeah, we got some nice new stuff. The biggest problem though is this stupid drill press. I broke it already. I absolutely snapped off the arm that this plate mounts to. This is kind of, I don't know what you call this plate, but this arm mounts right there. I broke that off when I tied it down. I had it laying, the whole thing was laying on its side, and I kind of had the strap using that to keep it from sliding, and when I cranked it down, this piece just snapped right off. So that's kind of crappy. It's kind of an important part of the whole unit. So hopefully I can either, I don't know if I want to weld, if I can weld this, we'll try, but it looks like pretty crappy cast metal. Or if I can find the actual replacement part, because it bolts in right there. So it's just this little arm here. If I can find the replacement, which I haven't looked yet, but if we can fix it, that'll be awesome. This thing should work a lot better than my little benchtop unit. This one actually has metal pulleys. My current one has plastic pulleys and they slip. And like as soon as the belt or the drill bit catches, all this stuff in here starts smoking. So to have this nice heavier duty unit will be a lot better. Never really planned on buying a big drill press like this, but it is really nice to have, especially when you run across a really nice one for cheap. But this hydraulic press is absolutely incredible. This thing is really nice, the nicest press I've ever had. So how these work, if you're not familiar, we do have the regular hydraulic part down below, which this handle would go in. Man, I feel like I'm zoomed like way in right now. So you got your normal hydraulic part there. Nice long handle, that's cool. But then you also have air, which is here. So you can have air hooked up to it, and you can, this needs to be replaced too. This is kind of wore out. It's all sticky and the hose is damaged down there. But yeah, you just hit this and that'll cause it to press up and down as well. So that works pretty cool. And then to release it, you just have a nice little plastic knob here. No funky fiddling with other tools to release. I don't know, this is just really nice. And then we have the gauge up here, which shows your pressure, your actual hydraulic pressure you're putting on stuff. So you can kind of monitor how much you're really giving the beans to. You can see it is super tall. This thing is probably, what, I'm 6'2". It's definitely as tall as me. So it's pretty cool that it's so big. And the plates that come with it are even real nice. So you can put them like this to where they're actually flat, or you flip them over and they have like a notch here, a V-notch, that you can put something in there if you need to do that. And then when you flip them over, you just push these deals up so that they stay retained within their spot. That's kind of cool. So super fancy. And then one thing we noticed at the end there was this entire, how do we call this, the ram part of it, actually slides on like a gantry. Let's see if I can get up in there. So this whole thing actually slides back and forth, so it kind of helps, you know, being able to set this thing up a lot easier. That's fancy. That's really fancy. As far as features, I think that's about it. It's a press, and it's gonna work a lot better than the one I have, which is nothing. But I was getting real close to actually buying a press myself. I really needed to buy, I was gonna buy not the cheapest Harbor Freight, but like step up one above it, because the cheapest ones are really bad. Try to go one above it. I don't know how much they cost or how much I would have spent, but I'm sure it was probably pretty comparable to what I spent on this absolute unit here. So I'm pretty excited about this, pretty excited.